have we come to a place where 2/3 of adults in the UK are overweight or obese?
Moral decay.
Tell me more.
So, obesity, to my mind, is not really a medical issue. There are medical problems that arise from obesity, but the underlying causes, insofar as I understand it, are not medical in the vast majority of cases, right? So, what we have is a moral issue. Yeah, because you get fat because you eat too much and you do no exercise. There is no way of getting around that, apart from, as I say, that the tiny minority of people who have physical or psychological or cognitive problems that fundamentally denude them of the ability to actually, put down the fork and go and take some exercise.
Yeah.
So the reason we got to the point of 2/3 of the population being overweight or obese is that we've seen a massive decline in standards and everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's wrong to hold people to, or it's seen as wrong to hold people to certain standards of behaviour and conduct. And so people get fatter. We're not allowed to call that what it is, laziness, gluttony, and it's become normalized. And now we will never see it solved either, because the majority of our lawmakers are themselves overweight or obese.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to enact legislation that would the tough legislation that would be required to actually force morality on the right morality on people, are they?
No.
Because that would involve admitting fault and looking into themselves and looking at introspection. So instead, what we get are silly things like sin taxes, which I don't have a problem with sin taxes. I quite like sin taxes, but they're aimed at the wrong kind of things, the wrong kind of way, and they're performative more than anything, really, aren't they?
So, what sort of legislation would make a difference?
Well, I would deprive anyone with a body mass index over 30 of publicly funded healthcare. And I would impose taxes on anyone with a body mass index between 25 and 30. And yes, that does indeed include me, because I am carrying a little bit too much timber. I'm happy with that. I don't have a BMI of about 27 because of muscle. I'm a little bit fatter than I should be. Lots of guys who lift weights specifically think that they've got a high BMI because of muscle. I'm sorry, unless you look like Steve Reeves or Reg Park, that's not the case, because those guys possess arguably the greatest natural, i.e., drug-free physiques of all time, and their BMIs at peak were only like 28 or so. I know Steve Reeves, well, I can't speak for Reg Park, but they certainly weren't obese. So yeah, so I would deprive anyone who is obese of any publicly funded healthcare at all. So no NHS for you, fatty. And then, levy quite punitive taxes that would obviously be lower the lower the BMI got. The closer the BMI got to 25, then the tax would be lower, wouldn't it? So, yeah.
What do you say to people who say the answer is educating our young people on healthy lifestyle and habits?
Well, the person doing the educating has to understand what healthy lifestyle and habits are, and being the parent of a child at school, I look at her teachers and none of them seem to know to look at them.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work, because the people doing the educating don't themselves know. And if they do know, they're not practicing it. And as we know, you need to be modelling behaviours to get kids to do it. It's all well and good sitting in your soiled joggers telling the kids they need to eat vegetables, while you're and exercise while you're tucking into crap at lunchtime, and spending your evenings languishing on your couch watching a box set. Couch was very American of me. Sorry. Sofa.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you think the food companies have something to answer for?
Well, yeah, they just cater into a demand. Yeah, of course they do, but you know, obviously a demand. Just there's OnlyFans is the great British business success story of the last 10 years. There's a huge demand there for Vice, and they're obviously going to surface that. It's actually the role of government to step in and say, "Hey, no," but they don't, for all the reasons that we've just discussed that I won't go over again.
Do you think we're past the tipping point?
Yes, yes, we are. There's no going back from this where we are now. And people might say, oh, well, what about fat jabs, Phil? Well, the problem with fat jabs is they don't actually change the person underneath. So as soon as the supply of fat jabs dries up, they regain the weight. You know, and and ultimately, is it a good thing to have a significant proportion of the population reliant on popping needles into their backsides to the end of their days? Basically becoming dependent on medication for their entire lives. Is that good? I don't think it's good. I think
No.
it's healthy.
And for me, it always reminds me of there's a scene in one of the Hunger Games films where they're in the Capitol and they're eating food at a party, and one of the Capitol people comes up to them and says, "Just drink this drink; it will make you vomit so that you can carry on eating." And that's kind of how I see the fat jabs.
Well, that's actually based on ancient Rome. They had a room in called a vomitorium
Yes,
in
I did know
some of
that.
the villas and things. They would do that, and they would just eat to the point where they would vomit, and they go to the special room to vomit. But yeah, that's people on fat jabs. They're still the same person underneath. They're taking the fat jab because they can't control themselves.
Yeah, and all the research that I've read says that even the programs that are offered aren't making a difference when people come off them. The
Well,
programs of learning these habits.
they're like people who abuse steroids to get big muscles.
Mm.
They're still the same feckless and lazy person underneath. You actually have to really first accept that if you're fat, yes, you are feckless and lazy. You actually have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, yes, I'm fat, disgusting, feckless, and lazy. It's because you are. I'm sorry, you
Mm.
objectively are. You have made yourself sick.
Yeah,
And you actually have to sit with that, and it's very uncomfortable.
yeah,
And then you have to make the needful changes slowly and patiently. If you've gotten yourself fat, that is a process that takes years,
yeah,
years and years, right? It's going to take the body's a very generous thing. It's not going to take you necessarily years and years and years to lose the weight. It's quite unusual for it to take as long as it took you to get to this point to actually get out of it. But it's still going to take you a damn long time. A
mm.
great body is not 12 weeks away. It's not 12 weeks away. Also, once you've lost the weight, it doesn't stop. You have to keep training. You have to keep eating right. It doesn't stop. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
And I think it's beyond most people, honestly.
Well, we did the stats. I should have dug them out before this podcast, but we did the calculation based on the likelihood of an adult losing the weight and keeping it off is really, really slim. And when you look at you and I together, I think it was I won't even guess, but it was so rare that we were almost looking at winning the lottery levels of rare. So it is very unusual for people to be able to turn the tide back once they find themselves in a overweight state.
It is, but for all the reasons we discussed, because they're not willing to actually address the character flaws that led them to the point that they're at. It's much easier for them to blame everybody else or claim to have a disease that they don't have.
Yeah.
So that's the obesity problem.
So we've got lawmakers who aren't going to make any changes. We've got food companies who are quite happy making their profits, and we've got education programs that aren't doing anything. What 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 does the next 25 years look like for our country? Oh, prophetic Phil.
Well, apart from the demographic time bomb and the economic collapse caused by servicing the pension triple lock, people are just going to continue getting fatter, uh, probably dying younger, more sickness, greater disability, benefit welfare
Yeah.
spend because we're going to be losing more and more adults from the workforce due to their obesity, you know, illnesses stemming thereof. And the UK is going to continue its inexorable march towards third world status if we're not already there.
Mm.
That's what's going to happen. If you actually look, people often say, "Oh, well, the states leads the way in terms of obesity," and it absolutely does. They've got massive issues over there, pun intended. But if you look at obesity, where it's also highly prominent in third world as well, very poor nations have issues with obesity too, and we're just going to be like them. So it's not good, Jess. It's really not good. And you can probably tell from my tone, it's a depressing thing to talk about. Because
Yeah.
what frustrates me a lot is the denial around obesity and overweight. So I, whenever I talk about this, particularly in my emails, and specifically the point about people who train and are fat, but they're refusing to accept their facts. They think, oh, I've got high BMI because of muscle, or people who just outright reject the BMI as a valid measure of body composition because they don't like what it says about them.
Mm.
I lose so many people when I talk about it. So many people, because they just don't want to accept it. And I know that I didn't want to accept it when I was like 23, I think. So I lost a load of weight.
Mm.
And then I decided to go on a dreamer bulk because I wanted to get really strong. And to be fair, it was a good decision because I built the foundation of muscle and strength that I'm still kind of riding on to this day from that kind of 18-month period when I was in my early 20s. But peak of it, my BMI was right up at 30 odd. And I was like, yeah, it's because of muscle. It was really muscly. It's like, I fucking wasn't.
Mm-mm.
And I would I'd get angry at any suggestion that I wasn't.
Yeah.
I'd feel the cognitive dissonance, and I'd get angry, and I'd lash out at the person pointing out to me that, hey, Phil, you got some, yeah, you make look like you've got big muscles, but you are fat, and you need to maybe do something about that. That's not healthy. Now that, yeah, they're just in total denial, and you can't just get through to them. So I mean, if that's you and you are in denial, if you've got a BMI over 25 and you don't take steroids and you think it's because of muscle, can you just fuck off my email list now? Save yourself the stress and strife. Don't buy any of my stuff because I can't help you until you accept that there is a little bit of weight to lose there. No, I'm not saying that you need to get shredded necessarily. If you don't have to walk around with a six pack year round, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is you have to accept that the way you are training, eating, and living is resulting in you being fatter than you perhaps think that you are.
Mm.
I can work with someone who's okay with that. I can't work with someone who's just like, oh yeah, it's because of muscle, because it's not. It's because of fat.
No. I think there's a third class of person, and it was certainly me,
Mm.
who, because I'm not death fat, I was like, I'm
You
not,
were.
yeah. But when I say death fat, I mean like immobile,
Mm.
sort of people you see on TLC. Um, I was like, well, because I'm not that bad, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, those are that's not a third category of people. Those are the same people. They hear the word obese and they make an argument for extreme. Same as the people who talk about abortion and they're like, what if a 9-year-old got raped? Would you make her have an abortion? Well, yeah, I would, but I wouldn't let her have an abortion. No, but it's called an argument from extremes. We know that
Mm.
the vast majority of abortions are not little 9-year-olds that have been raped. We
Yeah.
know that they're elective for economic reasons
Yeah.
mostly. Um, so to turn around and say, oh, obese, oh, you must be it's a death fat. It's like, no, that's an argument from extremes.
Yeah.
No, the fact of the matter is, 2/3 of the people walking down the street right now in the UK are overweight, and half of those are obese.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the numbers are 'cause I can't do maths. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. So, and I treated the so-called death fats when I was in the ambulance service. Yeah, the immobile death fats. And they do exist, but they actually, I would argue, fall under the umbrella of people with psychological conditions that actually denude them of their faculties to actually do something about their situation.
Yeah, because that is
Yeah,
extreme to get
it
yourself.
is. Yeah, so in a way, it's almost like stolen valor, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's like to be obese, you need to be like, no, I don't know. Sorry, I'm kind of tripping myself up here because it does genuinely frustrate me, this topic.
No, I get that. Anyway, we'll do something a bit cheerier next time.
Yeah, we will. Let's talk about death and abortion and things. All right. So if you got all the way through to this, what am I saying? Yeah,
Congratulations. Yeah.
congratulations if you got to this point. Get on my email list if you're not on my email list already. You can do that via the URL that's on the screen, it's philtiming.co.uk. There's a subscribe to newsletter button. It's green. If you click it and put your email address in, subscribe that way. That would be great. When you do, you get a little ebook that I put together. It's the fourth edition of fourth edition of a book I've written, isn't it? So yeah, that's good. It's called How to Build Muscle and Strength Slowly. I quite like it. Jess likes it. It's not Jess's favourite, but she does like it. And the daily emails are very good as well.
I like that.
If you want to buy my stuff, you can browse my site. I've got how many books? 18 we decided yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You can buy any one of my 18 books, that'd be great. Or if you want to work with me privately, then you need to email me. And no, I'm not going to tell you my email address. I'm going to let you work that one out for yourself. And on that note, we are done.